Hey guys, welcome back to r/malicious compliance, where people are conforming to the letter but not the spirit of a request. Today's video is all about crazy entitled bosses firing people for unfair reasons and then getting sweet karma. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is titled, "Fire me for driving too fast at 15 km per hour and then tell me to drive back to the district office? You got it, boss." And by the way, that's around 9 miles per hour for our American viewers. So this is gonna be kind of a long one, but I have a malicious compliance and a pro-revenge in one story. A friend reminded me of this when talking about all the forest fires burning in Canada right now. In the late 80s, I got a job with the Ministry of Natural Resources driving to support fighting forest fires. It was a great job, just over double minimum wage, a major bonus at 19, and they had no limit to the number of hours you could work. Fire season started early, and by mid-May I was supporting one that was, I think a long time ago, 300 to 400 hectares and growing quickly. 1 hectare is around 2.5 acres by the way. Back then, I think the whole district was around 100 square kilometers, think all of Indiana, so there was a lot of driving. One day I get to the on-site HQ and get told to wait while they found me a return load. A little later, I'm told to go to the helicopter staging area to pick up the fire boss, FB. To preface, the road was crap. I pick him and a few others up and make my way back. Halfway there, I hit a deep pothole and the FB just loses it. Starts bellowing about damn kids speeding, no respect, etc. and for the 5 minutes it takes to get back. I found out on the way there that going too fast was not a good deal, so I made sure to not go faster than 15 km per hour, aka 9 miles per hour. As soon as we get to base camp, slams his way out of the truck and screams, "You're fired! Get back to district and have them process you." Okay, F you very much, sir. We were deep in the bush. I don't know how deep, but it took me close to 7 hours to get there. So, cue the malicious compliance. I grabbed 2 20-liter gas cans, 5 gallons, and set off. Real slow. If 15 km per hour was too fast for these roads, then the proper speed was obviously however fast the truck went at idle. Unless there was a hill, I wasn't a monster. It took 22 hours to reach the first paved road, and then I set the cruise control 5 km per hour below the speed limit and went to get fired. An extra $300-ish, hear me. I process out and I meet one of the guys, call him crew boss, CB, who taught the level 1 forest firefighter course I took before I got hired to drive. We got along well, but there are only 2 new full-time hires that year and none on his crew. He had just come with one of his guys who broke his leg and was going to personnel to find someone new. I was quickly hired on as his 4th. 2 hours later, I'm being driven to meet his crew at a fire. The couple says later that the fire is declared out and we are off to a new fire. Yep, the fire I was fired from. Kind of revenge-ish, but it gets better. So cue the pro-revenge. CB, it turns out, is besties with FB, so FB has our crew as the initial response crew. This meant that we spent a lot of time riding in the helicopter with FB and responding to jump fires that would take minimal time to deal with. It took a week before he recognized me and I watched out the corner of my eye, something I thought was only in books or is said as an exaggeration. This guy went from pink to red to actually turning purple. I couldn't hear what was being said, but I see the skittle flowing out as he yelled into the headset, and I got some major side-eye from CB for the rest of the flight. When CB asked about it later and I explained, including the drive back, he almost passed out. It turns out, surprise, FB has a long history of exploding over nothing and taking it out on the nearest poor idiot. He ended up firing 2 more guys over the same thing and likely the same pothole. So yeah, CB knew what he was like, but they got along really well. It turns out he also really liked poking the bear. For the rest of that fire, CB made sure I was seated, so I was the first person he saw if he looked over his shoulder. On a later fire, our crew got admin duties and CB was FB's number 2. I got to be, as CB put, his helper monkey and FB's jock itch. The rest of the crew knew, so there wasn't any friction, and they got a kick out of it. It was a great summer, and I worked for CB 3 more summers through university. Always went back with great stories, really nice money. I collected unemployment during school, not sure if it was legal, but no one said anything, and pretty sure time has run out anyway. In amazing shape, but with a really weird tan. And yeah guys, if you enjoy these malicious compliance stories, please don't forget to like the video and let me know in the comments. It would be awesome if we could reach 1000 likes because that would help me tremendously. The next one is the title story, which is titled, "You want me to quit? Okay. Company immediately collapses." So for the last 10 years, I've been working from home as an automation engineer for a relatively small company that produced custom-built industrial gas treatment units. Industrial chillers, compressor stations, that sort of thing. My job was to write algorithms for PLCs, design HMI, and setting up data transfer for customers' SCADA systems. Basically, I was the person who told machines what to do. I was getting significant below market pay for such a position, but with only 4 to 5 projects per year and each taking me 2 to 3 weeks to complete, I was not arguing, since I was getting paid for mostly doing nothing, and I was fortunate enough to have considerable passive income thanks to lucky investments of my inheritance. So everything was great until a couple of years ago when the owner decided to retire and sell the company. So here comes the new management with new policies. So in my country, every worker is entitled to at least 4 weeks of paid vacation time per year, and all unspent vacation is rolled over to the next year, but you have to take at least 2 uninterrupted weeks per year. So if you only take your mandatory vacation, you accumulate 14 additional days per year. And by the way guys, I'm curious, how much paid vacation time are you entitled to where you live? Let me know in the comments, I'm really curious. Given how much free time I actually had, I rarely used more than mandatory 2 weeks per year, always making sure there be no commissioning or maintenance planned during my vacation. During these events, I would remotely access maintenance engineer's laptop to make necessary adjustments to the algorithms so everything works perfectly in real working conditions. But one of the first policies new management implemented was schedule-based vacations. So now I had to decide when I take my 2 weeks at the start of the year. I chose the first weeks of April. In early March, I get a call from manager of the development team who asks me to come on a quick 3-day work trip to help maintenance engineers switch PLC and upload new project. Well, apparently thanks to new maintenance team manager, a lot of maintenance engineers quit and they are short-staffed, and the only one they can send at the moment is bad with a computer. There isn't much for me to do since we had identical stations going through the same PLC switch month prior, so I will just fly there, chill until the electrical panel is rewired, new PLC is installed, and when I just upload new project to PLC and fly home. I thought for myself and agreed to go. Apparently maintenance engineer not only bad with computers but also knows nothing about electrical work, so I had to do everything myself, which I'm not actually qualified to do, but at this point I don't want to disappoint the client, who turned out to be a bunch of really nice people, so after a week and with only 3 burnt down fuses, I finished. After returning home, I informed my manager what I'm not going to any more business trips since I don't get paid enough to also do maintenance engineer's work. First day of my vacation comes and I get another call. Despite my poor judgment, I decided to answer. "Hey, we need you to go on another business trip starting next Monday. It will just take a week for this project." I said, "I'm not familiar with that project. It was done while I was on paternity leave. In my country, either parent can take paternity/maternity leave up to 3 years, and after the first 6 months, my wife asked me to switch. Yeah, we had to contract a specialist to do that project while you're on leave. I will send it to you along with documentation right away." And then it disconnects. I checked the received project and it is huge. 7 PLCs, 6 HMI panels, everything has to work as a single system, and the project is a total mess. Nothing would work, you just have to do everything from scratch. It will probably take me close to a month to finish. And that is with doing everything from the comfort of my own home, where I am more productive. So I call back and I said, yeah, I looked at this project and that's a mess. It's not in the working condition and no way to finish it in a week. I'll do what I can do, but as I said last time, I am doing it remotely as always. I won't go on another business trip, especially now. I have too many things planned for the next few weeks. I cannot go. But reception on site is terrible. You won't be able to access it remotely. And we already missed all deadlines on this project. The client is pissed and we are looking at huge fines. The CEO is breathing down my neck. We need it fixed yesterday. Then I will email the maintenance engineer project with changes each evening once he's in the hotel with decent reception, and he can email me a list of things what needs fixing. It's not the first time we've done it that way. Okay, I hear you. I will have to speak with the CEO about it. About 50 minutes later, I get another call. The CEO says, if you don't want to go, you should just write a resignation letter. I'm the only employee who knows how to do my job, but yeah, Sure, I will send my resignation letter right away. I was thinking about not doing it, so they had to terminate me and pay me termination compensation, but when I decided to be petty in a different way, in my country you had to give at least 2 weeks notice unless both parties agreed to shorter notice. So I write my letter and set my resignation day as 14th of April, which is 2 weeks. Shortly after, it gets approved. The deed is done. And then I get another call a bit later. So, will you be able to finish this project before you leave? I won't be able to do any work on that project before I leave. What? Why? You still have 2 weeks and we really need it done. Well, you see, I'm on vacation right now. The last day of my vacation will be April 13th and I'm resigning on the 14th. So the fallout was the following. I recently got a message from an ex-colleague I have friendly relationships with, and apparently the company is in deep crap right now. Deadlines were missed, fines rolled in, and the company's accounts have been frozen. They even were unable to pay salaries for the last 2 months. They are now toast and they will have to file bankruptcy. Don't worry, people will get paid in the end. In my country, salary debts have the highest priority when bankrupt businesses sell their assets. The downside? I still have not received my compensation for my 120 saved vacation days. And yeah guys, if you've ever worked in a terrible company like this and have gotten malicious compliance, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your story. The next one is a super emotional story about not being allowed to bring a service animal to a wedding. It is titled, "Am I the jerk for not allowing my friend to bring her service animal, aka guide dog, to my wedding?" So I, 28 female, will be getting married in September. I have a blind friend who mostly relies on her guide dog. The dog obviously has access rights to all places. Now I'm in a sticky situation though, and I can sense that I will be the a-hole here. I have 3 chronic illnesses that I take 23 pills a day for, severe asthma, and you guessed it, an extremely severe dog allergy. Usually when I meet with my friend we meet in the open and I take 2 allergy pills. However, because of all the other medication I take, these pills make me extremely drowsy to the point where I'm officially not allowed to drive and I usually crash as soon as I get home from our get-togethers. Our wedding will be very intimate, in other words, we'll be in relatively small rooms. I feel horrible about this, but I don't think I can let my friend bring her dog. It just wouldn't work. I talked about it with my fiancé and some friends. So finally, I talked to my friend about it, explained the situation, and said I would love her to come, but she cannot bring her dog. I said that 4 of our mutual friends had offered to be on a roster and assist her should she need it. Alternatively, if she's not comfortable with this, she could bring a person of her choosing to the wedding, or I would pay for a professional aide for the day. I think it's important to note that her dog is not for any additional issues like seizures or anything like that. Unfortunately, she was less than happy with my suggestions. She accused me of being ableist and thinking her disability can be switched off for the day. I understand what I asked was a lot and it's a difficult topic. I told her to tell me if she changes her mind and I would be happy to make arrangements. And yeah, Riper Stars, let me know in the comments, do you think that OP was the a-hole here for not budging on this topic? And was OP maybe even being ableist? I'm curious what you have to say about this. Comment number 1 said, not the a-hole. I was so ready to label you an a-hole after reading the title, but I think you have extenuating circumstances for not wanting a service dog or any dog at your wedding. I can also understand why your friend would be upset. This probably is not the first time someone has tried to stop her from bringing her service dog somewhere. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. I think this is just a misunderstanding. Your chronic illnesses and allergy are a disability too. I can understand why your friend would be opposed to going out without the guide she's used to, and I also get that you wouldn't want to be asleep or severely drowsy on your wedding day. I would talk to your friend more and see if any of the solutions you mentioned could work, or see if either of you could come up with more options. I feel bad for you and your friend. This is a difficult situation. Comment number 3, hey, disabled person here, there's actually a name for the situation you're describing. It's called conflicting access needs. And for example, I have photosensitivity, so I do a lot better in dark rooms. But when it's dark, it's also hard to lip read. So yeah, there's a lot of writing by disabled people on navigating conflicting access needs. Maybe some of this would help you. Good luck. It's probably hitting some buttons for your friend because there's a lot of ableism service dog handlers have to deal with. So it might be kind of a knee-jerk reaction, sort of like how I feel when people suggest I try yoga or something. Update, some of you may remember my post. Well, since then, I've got married. We decided to get married sooner than we planned because the situation was good where we live and we didn't want to risk having to cancel if the numbers spike before I took your advice and called my friend though. I explained how severe my allergies are once again and told her how I really want to be able to enjoy my wedding day. I apologized for making suggestions and not simply asking her, and said she is welcome to bring up any ideas that would help her being able to attend. She told me she still wanted to, that do not include her dog. She was adamant that it was her dog or nothing. While disappointed, I was prepared for that and told her that would not be possible and that she will be missed at the wedding. We sent out the new invitations with the new date and simply didn't invite her, so technically she was not uninvited. Some of our mutual friends that are in the wedding told me that she had asked them not to attend in solidarity, but luckily they all thought that was ridiculous. Oh wow guys, and by the way, I've never heard of something like that before. Why would you ask people to not attend a wedding just out of solidarity? That makes absolutely no sense in this case. Anyway, we had a beautiful wedding and spent our honeymoon in the Flinders Ranges, which I can only recommend. As for my friend, I'm open to reconciliation, but she will have to make the first step. So that's it. While it did not go as I hoped it would, I'm still in a happy place now, enjoying my life as a married woman. Commenter number 1, yes, you are an a-hole. Your friend was wrong to try to sabotage your wedding, but you asked a person with a disability and a service dog to not bring the dog. You actually are in violations of the Americans with Disability Act. A service dog has the legal right to go anywhere the handler goes, and I once called the police on a restaurant that was refusing to allow a service dog, citing health laws. Trying to explain the requirements for service dogs, they still refused. The police intervened and the individual and I had a lovely dinner. Apologies are needed from both sides. Then OB responded, this was not in the US and it was not a public place. And by the way guys, that was a beautiful way to shut down you are the a-hole comment. Props to OP. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. After finishing the academic season with decent exam results, a long summer and a good college was just around the corner. This was only topped by the big party I was planning for my birthday next week. The days leading up to the party flew by and it was here before I knew it. My parents, being the socialites that they are, could not stop themselves from going overboard, inviting every family member, friend and neighbor to an already crowded household. My dad then brought his tuned 1964 Shelby Daytona supercar out from the garage. Which was weird because he was usually quite protective of it. To my surprise, he had decided to pass it down to me as a birthday and graduation present, giving me a great incentive to start my driving lessons as well. And yeah, right, stars, by the way, that seems like a great first car for a new driver. Anyway, I was over the moon and my friends were jealous as hell. Many people swarmed around to get a good look at the car, but their interest dropped when the pizza delivery arrived. Returning to the yard after eating, I noticed the door was open and I thought I saw someone sitting inside and I assumed it was my dad until I spotted him in the kitchen. Going back outside, I found it was our neighbor Karen, who was oblivious to my approach until I gave a not-so-subtle cuff. Karen had not been invited to the party, which she knew as well, but still presumed to make herself at home even in my new car. Karen jumped and then turned to glare at me like I had purposefully snuck up to scare her. I thought to quickly change the subject by mentioning how nice the car was, which she agreed as she rubbed her sweaty palms across the dashboard. As more people began to exit the house, she took her cue to leave. I locked the car soon after. While I was helping to tidy up the party mess, my parents told me that they wanted to take a week to go see my aunt a few states over, asking me to stay and watch the house. I obliged, having no reason to give up a week of my summer when it could be spent with the house to myself. I was tinkering with the car on the next morning as they packed their bags, eager to get familiar with my new vehicle. Some time passed by before a voice interrupted me. I closed the hood expecting my mom, but instead I found Karen facing me. To my surprise, I must have been too focused to notice my parents leaving earlier. Before I could speak up, Karen turned her attention to the car, running her hand along it as she talked. It turns out that she was the person who sold the car to my dad, though it was quite obvious she still felt quite attached to it. When I proudly exclaimed that my dad had given it to me as a birthday present, she snapped back at me, swearing that she was still the rightful owner because it was not done properly or whatever that meant. The conversation hung on awkwardly after that until she excused herself and I went back into the house. I was starting to wonder whether a week alone was such a good idea after all. And well, my mom called me later to tell me that they got to the place safely and I told them about Karen's visit and they were not pleased. My dad explained that she was forced to sell some items to pay off a court order, though he warned me not to mention it as she could get very annoyed about it. I played off my worries so they did not need to end their trip early and steeled myself to a few more days. I pulled myself out of bed after not much sleep as some hoodlum had been driving fast around the block late into last night. I pulled apart the curtains as I yawned, interrupted by the sight of my empty driveway. As I panicked outside, I suddenly caught it from the corner of my eye. My Shelby Daytona on Karen's driveway. Getting closer, I saw tread marks from the road leading up to the car, and inside the keys still in the ignition. The realization hit me hard. Karen was the hoodlum cruising around last night in my damn car. I saw the door open as I jumped into the seat and took the car home, followed closely by the thief. Karen started in outrage, but when she noticed my own emotions boiling over, she changed to a softer tone of petty excuses. She said that I had left the keys inside, so she moved it to keep it safe. I scoffed loudly and asked if she took it for a spin, knowing her interest in the car since my birthday. She denied it immediately, though averted her gaze after. I went inside, ignoring her pleas. I did not trust her one bit, and my suspicions were quickly confirmed by my doorcam footage. I hated the idea that she stole it, but at least I now had proof. 2 blissfully quiet days passed by before I saw her again, only by chance as I was grabbing a snack from the fridge. As if the woman had not learned her lesson from last time, she was opening the car door, head swiveling suspiciously like a comically obvious criminal. I ran outside to stop her, catching her just before she fell onto the seat. Karen darted to her feet and scurried back to the curb before turning to confront me. This time her mood was dark. While I was the only one who had a right to be angry about the situation, it was not hard for her to twist it until she was the victim, claiming that I'd been intimidating and harassing a harmless, nice old lady like her. I asked her again about her joyride, which she denied again without apology, though she did seem to sour a bit after I told her about the video footage I had. She demanded that I hand over the tapes because I was illegally recording her, though it only pointed to my own driveway. When I refused, she threatened to call the cops, and I let her as I did not feel like I had anything to worry about. After Karen called the cops, she refused to let me leave her side in case I made a run for it, apparently. I was seriously starting to doubt her sanity or mental capacity by this point, and I could see why I was warned from getting into it with her. Half an hour of a menacing staring contest later, help arrived in the form of 2 uniformed officers who pulled up nearby. Without so much as a hello, Karen launched herself at the 2 men, listing everything that had happened today, while I sat patiently. Karen claimed that I had stolen her car and then threatened her when she tried to take it back, which I protested, but all it achieved was a shouting match no one could understand. In a moment to catch my breath, Karen scoffed at me because of my age, saying that I was too young to own a car, which they initially seemed to believe. Leading one of the officers to my house, I showed them my ID, birth certificate and driver's license. Without the noisy one present, I was able to calmly explain and apologize to the issue. I was also able to show them the camera footage of the theft in action, which they seemed to be quite resolved about. Back outside, the officers compared notes as Karen glared at me smugly. The cops decided to dismiss the issue as I could prove ownership, which she was furious about. Before they turned to leave, I told them I want to press charges over the issue and happy for us both to go to the precinct to answer their questions. Karen's fury turned to me after that, calling me a slimy little crap and shouting in my face. When one of the officers tried to intervene, she lashed out wildly and smashed a wing mirror of the car before attempting to just storm off. The cops grabbed her before she reached her driveway. She was hauled into the back of the police car, kicking and screaming like a mountain lion, though she could do little else to resist them, and into the car she went. Eventually, Karen has pled innocence until the footage was brought up, at which point she admitted everything. All in all, Karen ended up going to jail for this, which I feel is very much deserved. I also got a restraining order against her, so she can never mess with my car again. And the last one is a funny story from r/Maliciouscompliance. It is titled "But you said you did not want my help, Karen." So I'm a bridal consultant at a very popular bridal salon in my town. I have many years of experience and I love what I do. Most of the bridal gowns in my shop are special order, meaning they must be ordered before they are made by the designer, and lead times can be anywhere from 4 weeks to 8.5 months. Not everyone knows this when they come shopping for a gown. That's the whole point of me being there. I make sure we can get the dress in time, any desired customizations or alterations are possible, and that the price is within the bride's budget. Well, when this particular bride and her mother stepped into the store, they went immediately to the racks and started ripping through the neatly hung gowns. I introduced myself, explaining that I'd be their consultant for the appointment. This bride had a fairly short engagement, about 4.5 months, and I knew that only some of the gowns would be available in time. As I tried to explain to her and her mother the process, she sharply cut me off and told me, "Just let us shop and leave us alone." I was stunned to be spoken to so rudely, but I did as I was told. I left them alone, even when I saw them looking at dresses twice her budget that would not arrive until months after her wedding. I never took any of the gowns back to a dressing room or asked her if she would actually like to try them on. Even after they stood by for a while, clearly waiting for me to take her back to the dressing rooms, I just continued on with my other work as if they did not exist. Eventually they realized I had no intentions of acknowledging or helping them in any way, and they left without getting to try on any gowns. The owner asked me about it after they left, and I told her the whole story. She laughed and said, "Good for you." And yeah guys, I guess that's what's called dodging the bridezilla bullet. Thank you for watching, please check out my endless playlist on the left, and I will see you again tomorrow.